Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Well, hello there, humans, visitors as well. Where is lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Bushka. And we've got another weapons guide for you today. This is going to be the Vector. Right, the SMG. Used to be a 45 caliber SMG.
Watch out.
This weapon is brought to you by Fledweather. Fledweather was happy enough to ask on the channel the other day, Bushka, please do a video on how underrated the Vector is. And I said, don't worry, it's coming. I have about 15 minutes of Vector clips because I do have about 15 minutes. Unlike a lot of the guns that I make videos of, where I have to go out, run the gun to get enough content to put together some decent clips and showcase the highs and lows of the weapon, the Vector was ready to go. In fact, I had to drop a lot of clips because I just had so much Vector material, especially with the hot drop stuff that popped recently, the Genie, Nimbus Island stuff, now the Mecha drops in 3.2. It's been a really great hot drop weapon when you can secure the correct equipment. And that's really the biggest issue with the Vector, apart from the standard SMG issues, is that it is so susceptible to requiring. It is incredibly frustrating as a player who wants to be aggressive, dropping and getting a Vector and then being forced to constantly really lock in close to hard cover because you are going to load so quickly. And it's a double-edged sword. The Vector is possessed of an incredibly solid rate of fire. That rate of fire is what makes it such a wonderful CQC weapon. Its base damage is a paltry 32. Now, 32.9 is one of the lowest base damages in the game. In terms of SMGs, the only ones that you're beating, the Uzi at 26.2 and the old P90 at 31.4. The new P90, the fresh to the market airdrop P90 that is absolutely OP, has 35 base damage. So you really are not very special in terms of your alpha strike damage. Where the Vector makes up for that is having 1,154 rounds per minute. Now the Uzi has 1,304, and it feels like it goes through a lot of ammo. Watch this clip here. Watch how long it takes me and how I am constantly setting up for the next engagement by staying close to hard cover. That's because the Vector, it's not a weapon that is friendly if you don't have an extended quick draw magazine. Not just an extended mag, but if it's not a quick draw, it can be very, very dangerous. It goes without saying that there are certain weapons that work incredibly well with the Vector. It's renowned as being a very good weapon with the 5.56 AR.
Watch out!
This guy can go above you. Absolutely. But, and it's also very, very good with the DP28. The DP28, having such a large capacity, gives you the opportunity to have that, like the Bison, which you probably saw previously, have a switch weapon that is also pretty good in hip fire. Watch the hip fire on the Bison here, which makes it really useful. You pair it up with the Vector and you get a gun that holds another 53 rounds of 9s. It doesn't fire so quickly. It can be used in a spray weapon. That's what you're looking for with the Vector. So because it fires so quickly and it gets rid of so much ammunition so quickly, if you don't have an extended mag, it's useless in anything. You might win some hot drop fights where no one has armor, but your limb damage, while good, and PUBG Mobile call the limb damage explosive damage. It's good, but it's not enough to really make you stand up and pay attention. 23.03 damage into a level 1 vest. The damage an arm is -. So you're doing 14.8 damage in a level 2 vest. And because of that, it takes a lot of rounds to kill level 3 targets. So as you progress further and further and further up the tree of armor, the vector becomes less effective. You can see I'm finishing a lot of these fights with not many rounds left in the kit. And that means that it's very susceptible to getting pushed on a reload. And getting pushed by multiple targets at once, unless you're hitting headshots, can be deadly. But those are all the negatives. The positives, well, that same rate of fire means you outlet an exorbitant amount of damage. You outlet it very, very quickly. But you see how in all these gunfights, once I exhaust the vector, I'm immediately going for the switch. And that's why if you're running a vector, you're not running it with a 14. You're probably not running it with a Mini 14. Want to run it with a gun that, I've got an AWM. An AWM is run anything with an AWM. It's AWM for fun. You really don't want to get stuck on reload fights versus more than one target. What about as a spray weapon, says the populace, because they just love spraying stuff? Well, it's terrible as a spray weapon. It has a traditional SMG profile. It's very, very low bullet speed of 380 per second. Does not lend itself to clearing targets at range. If they're going left to right, your screen, you're not hitting them. Or at least if you are hitting them, you're Godzilla in a process. I can't do it. And I've been using this thing for ages. I adore it for this. Its hip fire is very, very good. It's not as good as an Uzi's or a Bison's. I don't think it's quite as good as that, as an Uzi or a Bison. But it's as good as the UMP. And its rate of fire is much higher. So you're looking at a gun that's much better for single targets. A UMP with its rate of fire and its higher limb damage and its higher base damage is probably better against squads. But the vector for single targets, if you can isolate your targets in your gunfights, the vector will reward you. It is a wonderful weapon to use one-on-one. Or even 2v1, if you're stretching it out to threes, yeah, you're going to struggle. I've had gunfights where I've knocked 2 in one clip with a vector. It's not common. I've done it with an Uzi. It's not common, but wow, when it happens, it's electric because they go down so freaking fast. When you're firing 1,100 plus rounds a minute, there is no time getting deflected. So the guns that I recommend running with this, obviously an M416. It's not my favorite. I prefer to run a Bison with the Vector or a DP28. One of the things that I find the synergy with the Vector works the best with is slower firing guns that can work in CQC because they have either a higher alpha damage or they have an incredible hip fire capability. The alpha damage on the DP28 being 47 is really good. It means against level 3 helmets and things, you can crash. You can crash very, very hard. The Vector loves that mid-range ADS. It is really, or short-range ADS, but it is really, really wonderful as a hip fire, spray out, move back in, and that's what it's designed for. I often will run it just with a laser sight because I want that ultimate hip fire skill. I want that ultimate hip fire ability, and it's really important that you get used to staying close to your corner. When you're running a Vector, this guy does really well here. He nearly rinses. I thought I had him on toast. That guy gets out with a little spray, a little bit of desync, and absolutely pulverizes. He doesn't move forward to his target, so I'm like, righto, I'm just going to first him up there. Like, if you're not going to come out, I'm going to first him. So what I mean by that is you stay close to your hard cover with the Vector. You just take small peeks, unless you're in like an absolute movement fight when you're jiggling and wiggling and moving all over the place. You're just taking smaller peeks, and that will reward you, and just in time to get back to the cover because the rest of the squad turn up. It will mean that you have time to get your reloads in. If you can't find an extended quick draw magazine at the start of the game, I won't even pick it up. It's that effective, that big an effect on running the weapon. You can't be running around with a Vector and you know, a half a magazine and expecting to have squad fights where you can do anything. It's just way too ineffective to play that way. And it's unfortunate because the Vector, it's genuinely incredible. Its time to kill is right up there with the best of the best at 0.26 of a second. That's very, very low. The UMP 0.55, the Gruzzer is 0.231. Like, you're looking at a gun that is a performer again and again and again in the CQC. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. And I hope Fledweather has now been satisfied in his quest to let the Vector be seen as an underrated weapon. Because it is not criminally underrated. There's a lot of guns out there that I think are more underrated than the Vector. But it just doesn't get run because people get so locked into one meta. And I mean, the Vector is every inch as good for me as the Uzi or the UMP. They all perform very similar tasks in a slightly different way. I'm Bushka. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like the videos and subscribe. And until next time, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.